Hi, and welcome to Wealth of Knowledge. I'm Emily Sigelski, the editorial director at Worth, and it's my great honor to be joined by Lisa Gable. Lisa is the CEO of FAIR and author of the newly released book, Turnaround: How to Change Course When Things Are Going South. Lisa, welcome to Wealth of Knowledge.
I'm Lisa Gable. I am the author of a best-selling book called Turnaround that helps you use diplomacy combined with the art of manufacturing principles to figure out how to solve complex problems in today's world.
In your new book, Turnaround, you share a simple yet powerful approach to breathing new life into troubled ventures. Can you walk us through your method?
Thank you for asking. First, visualize the future. If you could wave your magic wand, what would you want the world to look like? Then you need to break down the past. You're basically auditing everything that you're currently doing. You want to rank and rate that what you're doing and create a path from the past to the future. You're going to have to get rid of some things. You're going to have to focus on a few other things. But once you've gone through those decision trees, you've made those tough decisions, you're ready to execute with speed, confidence, agility, and heart.
What role does compassion and empathy play in your leadership approach? And how do they fit into your method for turning around businesses?
When you're turning around any organization and you're making those very tough decisions, what you have to recognize is that every decision you make impacts real people. It impacts their lives. It may impact their livelihood. And so you need to look at the world from their point of view. You can't avoid making the hard decisions, but you can think about the way in which you communicate and also keep those relationships going after the person has left your organization. You never know. They may be someone that you want to partner with someday. They may be someone that you have a merger and acquisition and you could be working for someday. So the critical element is to remember it's a moment in time. It's not the most pleasant moment in time, but you want to maintain relationships. You want to maintain that focus and understanding and empathy of the impact of your decision on that person's life.
Visualizing and creating a path to your future are two important steps in your method. During these current tumultuous times where nearly everything feels constantly in flux, do you have any advice for those who are struggling to think about the next week, let alone the long-term future of their business?
Well, there are two issues. One is, through every turnaround, you have to keep executing. You can't stop. You're basically that term that everyone uses, that you're building the plane as you're flying it. That's pretty accurate. So what we want to do is allow you to keep the trains moving on time, keep flying forward, but at the same time begin to rank and rate the work that you're currently doing. Because as you go through a continuous ranking and rating process, that's going to enable you to do continuous improvement and also to stop doing things that might be getting in your way. The key element of all of this is you want to focus on job one. What's the most important thing for you to get done, whether it's this week or in the future, that actually will enable your business to stay alive and thrive.
Why was it important for you to publish this book right now?
It's interesting. I was down a path of writing a book on leadership and character, and I still want to write a book on leadership and character, but my publisher contacted me and he said, you know, it's going to be tough for people coming out of the pandemic, and you've had the opportunity to do turnarounds in business, government, and philanthropy. You've touched all the sectors. If there's a way you can give people hope, while at the same time concrete advice that will enable them to move out of the pandemic in a manner that's going to put them on an upward trajectory, that's the most important thing that you can do.
Why do you think your method is so successful across various industries?
My method is one where I take the manufacturing principles that I learned at Intel at the feet of Craig Barrett, who was CEO and later chairman of the board of Intel, and I interweave those with what I call the art of diplomacy, what I learned working at the State Department and the White House. Those basic processes, using process to drive your decisions, using data to make decisions, using data to argue your facts so that you can drive change, these are critical elements that are important no matter what sector you're in. But again, operating with heart, using diplomacy, shuttle diplomacy becomes so important because you sometimes are trying to get people to change very quickly, and so you need to sit with them, listen to their point of view, articulate what you're trying to do within the framework of the way they view the world, and then bring them to your side. It's an exhausting process sometimes, but it's so critically important that before you make a big announcement, before you make a huge decision, that you've spent that personal time understanding what's important to the person with whom you're partnering or the person who's working for you.
What's the biggest mistake leaders make when they're trying to revitalize a failing project or business? How can they avoid these mistakes moving forward?
The biggest mistakes are actually twofold. Sometimes they don't understand that at points organizations do have to end. Now they might end through a merger or acquisition, but the organization in its current economic structure may have actually lived out its life. And that's a very hard decision to make. But I would say the other one is tweaking. I hate tweaking. People make a little tweak here, a little tweak there. They don't solve the underlying problem, and therefore they're making the problem worse. Maybe they're throwing more money at it during this tweaking process. Well, all of a sudden, you have that problem extending in all different trajectories that aren't focused on job one, that place you need to go to keep your organization alive. So tweaking, throwing money at the problem, and then also not realizing when you've hit your end state and it might be time for a merger.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Lisa. It has been a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to be on your show.